There we go.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry about the late start. We just had a technical issue which we've managed to sort out. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's call. My name's Tracy Buckley. I'm on the Telecoms Executive and I'm part of the BT Consumer team. Also on tonight's call is Stephen Alban, who's the Officer and Lead Negotiator for BT Consumer, and Dave T, who's the Chair of the BT Consumer team. We hope tonight to give you a brief update on what's happening within BT Consumer and the Count Me In campaign. But before we start, I just want to say to our consumer members, you've done a brilliant job during the COVID pandemic. Our consumer members have been critical in keeping this country running, and you all should be very proud. You are valuable, skilled workers, and you should be appreciated. I understand that many of us are fearful about what's happening and whether you are at risk of compulsory redundancy now or sometime in the future. Fearful if the race to the bottom will impact on your future terms and conditions. Fearful what a future with COVID and post-COVID will look like. And being honest, fearful about possible strike action. Tonight's call will give you an opportunity to put your questions to the team with regards to what's happening within your area, within your work area and the Count Me In campaign. Please put your questions in the comment box. I'll try to get through as many as I can. But let's start tonight by you putting comments there, letting us know who's on the call and where you're from. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Stephen to introduce himself. Hi, Stephen.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks very much. Look, this is one of the most crucial and dangerous points in all of our careers. Whether you're new to the company or long-standing, we are under attack like never before. And these attacks have an impact, huge impact, not just on BT Consumer, but also our EE members who are expected to be harmonised to the better terms and conditions. And I think Tracy is exactly right. You know, the CWU and the British public are never going to forget the work you've done as key workers and continue to do a great risk to keep the UK connected. And when we look at our union, the CWU, it's our collective voice with the employer. It enables us to protect and improve what we have in relation to pay and terms and conditions. And I want to be very clear, there's new management that have come into our company who don't want our members to have a voice, and they're trying to remove everything we've agreed in good faith for many years, in my opinion, to further their own careers. Because they won't be here in 5 years, I guarantee that. I want to go through the challenges we face in consumer, and in doing so, I want to make it very clear that they all impact you. If not now, they will in the future. And we need to really send a strong message to the company in this ballot that will not accept these attacks. So every single member, and I mean every single member, needs to vote yes. It's not just about a yes vote, it's got to be about a massive turnout. So let's start with the Better Work Life programme. Now, as you can see in various other lines of business, they've announced their plans. And that is still really bad for a lot of sites, because if the site's not on the announced list, then clearly they will be at risk. But BT Consumer have refused to be open and honest or reveal any of their site strategy. So to be clear, every site is at threat of closure. I know some sites have been announced for a new building or refurbishment, but please do not be complacent and think that means you're safe. No one knows what work we put into those sites. We have no guarantee if there's a long-term future, or the technology advances will not see further reductions taking place. And to add to this, you know, the company has moved away from our voluntary approach for dealing with redeployees, and they're introducing one of compulsory redundancy. Added to that, they've served a notice on our severance terms that we only agreed 2 years ago, and that's got to be a really clear message to our members of the company's direction of potential mass redundancies on the cheap. So, you know, please don't be complacent. I think all members need to be afraid of compulsory redundancy, because once companies get a taste for it, it then becomes a culture. Compulsory redundancy isn't a policy, it's a culture. And once they start it, it cannot be reversed. So if we don't win this fight and get a yes vote, that will be the future. And it's a change in relationship with not just the union, but it's a change in the relationship with you and the way they treat you. And there's a reason we believe consumers announced not announced its site strategy, because unlike other lines of business where there are smaller numbers, we have big battalions in a lot of sites, and they don't want to upset customer service, because if they announce a strategy, people will get upset and they believe it will impact it. So what will happen is exactly what happened in Aberdeen, where they bounced us at the last minute with a short notice closure, making people in Aberdeen compulsory redundant. And look, it's interesting as well that we surveyed all you as members on home working, and the vast majority wanted to continue to work from home permanently. The company survey didn't really ask the right questions. We asked one question, and you were loud and clear that you wanted to continue to work from home. And when consumers shut Aberdeen, the CBU did put counter proposals forward to allow people to work from home permanently, and we totally rejected them. Terrible news for those affected, but a dangerous sign of things to come with other site closures. And if you look at EE, there are only 4 sites, and that itself might tell a story. And look, we've always dealt with change and restructuring in the past with BT very well. There's been situations where we've had redeployees, and that approach has been successful via voluntary means, retraining, reskilling, access to comments and job shadowing, and it's worked very, very well. In addition to that, obviously they're attacking all the higher graded roles within BT. We want a robust pay structure, like we've always had, that recognises and rewards the skills you have. All of the higher graded roles in consumer have been under attack for a number of years, with downgrading and de-skilling that ignores all the processes and procedures that we've had and agreed for many, many years. And Nick Lane has stated to the national team and the branches that he believes there's no difference in skills in consumer. All online advisors are the same. And we know that's not the case. You've got LCMs and CAM3 advisors. They're the go-to people. They're the subject matter experts. But again, consumer don't want to pay for those skills and reneged on agreements that we had to assess those roles. What they've done instead, they've introduced a new operating model designed to remove those roles. And that's resulted in probably in the circa 300 highly skilled roles being removed from consumer. And again, Nick Lane spoke to our branches and said that he expected CAM3 roles and LCM roles to be on the vast majority of sites that would have created a career pathway. And you only have to speak to our EE members where the race to the bottom has already occurred, because lots of higher graded role exists there, but they expect it to be done on goodwill rather than rewarding it based on the skills and the expertise you have. So if members as well, I want to say this, if members are acting as subject matter experts, I think you be very careful, because you're only hurting yourself. The new model should be directed to the manager, and I think we want people to be directed to the manager because we know their weaknesses there, and that will expose the model and enable us to try and address what we believe is recognising the skills you have. And then obviously you've got the unagreed terms and conditions that have been implemented. And I want to be really clear here. We agreed something under Project Bell, and we agreed a TM1 pay point with terms and conditions, and we believe they were the ones that we negotiated that would have allowed the harmonisation of EE workers into BT. And again, I keep mentioning his name, Nick Lane brought that promise, and without agreement or without any meaningful negotiation, he introduced a lower pay point. But even worse, he stripped away the bank holiday payments and the Sunday payments. And again, I don't want members, because I've heard it on other meetings, saying, well, it doesn't really impact me. It only impacts new recruits. Please don't be complacent about that, because if you look at EE, when EE took over T-Mobile, they took away all the bank holiday payments for the existing staff. So if we lose this battle, that's what they'll do to you. They'll strip away the bank holiday payments and the Sunday payments. And that has a huge impact, because if you look at a new starter, the potential impact just to a new starter on a TM1 is about £2,000. But if they took it off everybody, potentially the impact could be massive for everybody. And our members rely on that money. Our lowest paid workers rely on it, but equally our part-time workers rely on it. People who've had to go part-time through childcare, through disability, health reasons, they rely on those bank holiday payments and those Sunday payments to supplement their incomes. And, it's disgraceful that, BT have introduced this attacking our low-paid workers. So we need to send a clear message. We need to send a very strong message to everyone that, you could be next. So please vote yes. And I'll touch later on, myself and Dave's going to go into the wide a bit, but I'll touch later on what we need you to do.
Thanks for that. Dave, I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself. Sorry, you're muted, Dave.
Thanks, Tracy. That was a good start. Okay, my name's Dave T. I'm a member of the union's executive, and I'm chair of the consumer team. And look, Stephen's covered most of it, and I know there are lots of questions that members on tonight want to ask, so I won't say too much. But just to be clear where we are with the company, and in many ways repeating what Stephen said, but just be clear, BT was privatised in 1984, and it's taken 40 years to get to the first compulsory redundancy. Sorry, that's my maths is wrong there. It's taken 36 years to get to the first compulsory redundancy. And we've worked as a union with the company for years and years and years through massive change. And when they went to move to compulsory redundancy, we reached the point where the relationship was severely threatened. And we're now at the stage where we've moved to a consultative ballot because we've been left with no option. We don't want to consider strike action. That's the last thing we want to do. But we've been forced to move to a consultative ballot on strike action because the company have forced us to by the way they're dealing with us and the way they're not negotiating with us. So I think you have to be clear in all the questions that you ask tonight. You have to understand the problem that you and this union is facing in the future. This is a battle we have no choice but to win. If we lose this battle, there will be thousands and thousands of jobs in peril across the whole of BT and EE. And that's the stark warning I need to give you tonight. So I don't know if you want to start taking the first questions, Tracy.
Will do. Thank you for that. Thanks for that, Dave. There have been a number of questions within the comment box from people who haven't received their ballot papers. You do need to contact your branch, but I know that some people in there have said that they have contacted the branch and still not heard anything back. There is an email address that you can use, which is cmiballot@cwu.org. What I will do, though, is take that away and make sure that that's put on our website. Sorry, Steve, you want to...
Yeah, I'm aware that they're being worked on currently. There's about 300 that have come in with issues and they're being worked on. But just to remind members as well, there will be reminders that will go out to people. So there's plenty of other opportunities to come in, but I know those are being worked on as we speak. So don't worry.
Okay, thanks for that, Steve. But like I say, there is an email address that you can email, which is cmiballot@cwu.org. But I will take that away and make sure that that's on our website. So we've got a question here which isn't about the Count Me In campaign or about industrial action, but it is about something that's recently come in, which is the call centre evolution software and the fact that it monitors the screen usage on top of stats. Steve, do you want to just say where?
Yeah, look. Firstly, to be very, very clear, right? We don't agree with the introduction of this. We can't stop the company introducing new systems and implementing them. So we're not in agreement with it, right? We did get a slide pack on it, and we have actually, we believe, massively improved it from where it was. But we were never going to be able to stop it. What we will do is police it and make sure that it doesn't hurt our members or impact our members. And there are some assurances that have been put in the pack that have been shared with your branches to enable them to police that and protect you. But be under no illusion, Andrea, we don't agree these things. We would never agree something that would impact our members. Companies can introduce them, they will introduce them. We have to try and build as much protection in as we can to enable branches to support you if the company try anything.
Thanks for that. Thank you. It's really great to see all your comments in the inbox, and it's really, really fantastic to see just how many have already voted yes and how many are supporting the union. That is really good. I have had a couple of questions emailed in as well before today's session started, so I'm just going to put one or two of them to Dave and Steve. So if I give this one to you, Dave, which is that the unagreed pay and terms and conditions don't impact on me, they only impact on new entrants. Why is it important?
Well, it's important because, frankly, it's a race to the bottom. If you bring in contracts and if you bring in contracts on lower, inferior and agreed terms and conditions, then that's the future that the company wants. That's the direction it's going. And it affects us all, because what it does is it drags terms and conditions down and eventually drags pay down. And eventually, of course, means that as those contracts come in unagreed, time after time, those are the other contracts, the better paid contracts, the ones with superior terms and conditions, they start to become a minority, and the pressure comes to downgrade those and reduce their terms and conditions. So it's an inevitable race to the bottom. What we're always trying to do as a union is protect terms and conditions, protect your pay, protect your terms and conditions, and to be honest, to protect your future. And if we allow unagreed, inferior, poor terms and conditions and pay rates to come in, it will affect us all, because it will inevitably lead to that race to the bottom.
Thanks for that. Thank you. I've got another question, which is, do we have an update on where we're doing with the ballot? And the answer to that is no. The ballot is ongoing, and we will get the results of the ballot when the ballot closes. So you're not going to be getting updates as the ballot is ongoing with regards to how many people have voted, for example, or whether people are saying yes or no. So sorry, I'm just looking at the questions. I've got another one. This one's for you, Steve. Why are they attacking our higher graded work?
Look, I think I said it earlier. As far as Nick Lane's concerned, he believes that there's no different skills within consumer. Everyone who's online has exactly the same skills. What he did in EE, he did exactly the same. When EE came in, took over EE in Orange, the higher graded role was stripped away. There was one grade, and that was the entrance grade. And all the higher skill roles that do exist, because every company, whether it's EE or BT, has subject matter experts, has skilled people who are the go-to people on that team, right? And in EE, he does it as good for goodwill. In BT, they're trying to do exactly the same. And the reason they want to do it is because, like Dave said, they want a race to the bottom. They want all the high skilled stuff done by these individuals on goodwill, rather than actually rewarding them with a pay structure and the recognition for the skills that role have. It happens in all call centres. But look, let's be clear, right? We've heard Nick saying, well, these terms and conditions and these things don't exist anywhere else. I don't care about anywhere else. BT is a highly profitable company. It's a blue chip company. We expect to have good terms and conditions. We always have. And that's what we're going to protect.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry, I'm just reading the questions and putting them together. Here's one for you, Dave. There's a few on the theme that BT management are saying that the union's scaremongering.
Well, I mean, they would do, wouldn't they? They would do. Of course, they'll say that. What we're trying to do is tell you the truth. I mean, we can't apologise for telling the truth. We've been attempting to negotiate with the company on a whole range of issues for months and months and months, and we're telling you we're getting nowhere. We want BT to come to the table and talk to us now properly and negotiate, but they won't. And that's the truth of what's going on. If they say we're scaremongering, to be honest, I think if they're scaremongering, for example, if they say these sites aren't closing, well, get them to tell you the sites aren't closing. But they're not going to do that, are they? Consumer is the only line of business which will not declare where its future sites are. All the other lines of business, so that will be technology, global, openreach, enterprise, have all made it absolutely clear where their future sites are going to be. Consumer is the only line of business that will not. And myself and Stephen and Tracy at meetings with the company have challenged them to give us the answer, and they won't. And you have to ask yourself why they won't give us the answer. It should be very simple for a company that's got a plan for the next few years to be very clear about what its site strategy is. And you have to ask yourself why Consumer won't be open, honest, and transparent about its site strategy. So if they say to you that the union is scaremongering, we're telling you how it is. And it's as simple as that.
Thank you. I've got one for you, Steve, here, which is, why are we not moving straight to industrial action?
Look, we want to engage with our members, and we want to make sure that when we make these decisions, right, they're big decisions that we have to make. And we wanted to consult with you. And that's what it is. It's a consultative ballot. We want to first check with you that you understand what we're doing and you are with us on it. It's very, very difficult to move to a ballot without knowing the will of the members. So we have to consult with you. We believe it's right to consult with you to make sure that you believe what we're doing is correct and you're prepared to fight with us. So in some respects, it may well be that we have to move to that industrial ballot. But I think if you vote yes in this consultative ballot and we get a massive turnout, I think we could hopefully avoid industrial action and get them back round the table to engage with us like we have always in the past and find a solution through the things that have happened before, and we've always found a way through it. So the reason we're doing it is because I think it's important to consult with our members to make sure that we've got your backing, and you believe that you can. We strongly believe that everyone in the union is going to support us.
Thanks for that. It's still really great, guys, to see all your comments. So keep putting them in, keep letting us know that you voted. It's really good to see. I've got one here from John Maddock, which it's just disappeared off my screen, which is going to be a difficult one in many ways for us to answer, because it's about rumours. We've heard a few rumours that Openreach might be sold off. Any news? Do any of you want to say that, or do you just want to say we've heard the same rumours and we're challenging it?
I think that's the best answer you can give, Tracy. That's true. The rumours that they've heard and seen are the same as we've got.
Okay.
I think that's been sparked as well with Mr. Hanson and his shares as well, as has probably sparked a few stories on that as well.
Yeah. Here's a great question from Mark Pastorelli, which is, how can we get our members in call centres to engage more?
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, go on, do it.
Well, to be honest, I think that's such an important question. I think you can both have a go at it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think in terms of engaging with members in call centres, at the moment it's tougher because not all our members are in the call centres, because we've got a vast number of them working from home, which is something, to be honest, when we spoke to the company at the beginning of the pandemic about working from home, they said it couldn't be done. It took about 3 weeks, and a vast majority, a huge number of our members are working from home. So that's one element. But to get members to engage, to be honest, we need to get our members in the call centres, our active members who are on the call tonight, who are members who work in those call centres, to spread the word for us, to make it absolutely clear that they've come on and they've heard what we said. And when the company is saying, when they think the company is right, that we're scaremongering, they put them straight, because it's about getting our story out there. It's about getting what we're saying out there amongst our members. So I think to engage, we need to talk to them, and we need to use you as the members and the activists out there to talk to members. And there are many more things we're going to do, but we can talk about that later. Did you want to come in as well, Stephen?
Look, you're exactly right. If we're in a COVID world, in the old days, we would have been speaking to you at live meetings. We would have been on the site. We would have been outside your sites engaging with you. And Dave's right. We're in a very difficult situation where we have to do Zoom calls like this. And there's a lot of work for branches to do to try and speak to every single member and to get to every member. And there's many different ways we can try and do it: email, text, social media, WhatsApp. In my opinion, the best way to do it is for somebody to speak to their colleagues. And that's what I think that Dave just alluded to. For me, we need you to all be points of contact. We need you all to be not just voting yes, but actually getting as many of your colleagues to vote yes as well. And I think a lot of texts and emails might go missing, and we've had, the ballot paper might get missed. You need to be the person to ring those people, to engage with them, and in some respects, do the work, be part of the work that we're all going to need to do, because it's a massive piece of work because of COVID, and I think everyone's going to have to play a crucial part in that. So in some respects, I think we're all going to have to become union reps. We're all going to have to become involved, because I think that's the only way we're going to get through it in COVID, to get to everybody.
Thank you. Thanks. There's another question: is, are BT jobs being offshored? Now, I can answer that from other teams that I'm on. That yes, the answer to that is yes, and it's an absolute disgrace that BT are looking to offshore work in the middle of a pandemic whilst making their employees compulsory redundant. So that's what your employer is doing. That's what we are fighting against. That's what we are saying is wrong. I don't know if Dave or Steve wants to add to that.
Yeah, well, look, in relation to consumers, our union worked tirelessly to get the work back from offshore, and in some respects, the vast majority of that work has come back for customer facing. But look, we've had a lot of members approaching us and ringing us saying they're getting calls through to sites that we weren't even aware of. So don't think about just outsourcing abroad. There are a lot of UK outsourced companies that the company are utilising, and we need to know those numbers, because let's be very, very clear, right? When we brought all that work back from offshore, that was a massive commitment from all our members to do lates and weekends and to meet attendances, because previously, manpower and the work that was done offshore was all doing the lates and the weekends, and that was a huge piece of work to do that. So within consumer, if consumer moved or increased the number of outsourcing, then we would have to ask the question, well, why are our members doing the lates and weekends and the Sundays? But in relation to the point Tracy made, you're exactly right. This company is getting billions of pounds to invest in the fibre network, whilst at the very same time in other lines of business, offshoring work abroad. But not only that, using that money to sack our members via compulsory redundancy.
Thanks, Steve. There's a couple of questions with regarding to how long, when we strike, how long will we strike for? And I think to say in the first instance, that's not possibly a question that we can answer on tonight's call. That's all about future strategy. What I will say to everybody here tonight, the best way to avoid strike action is to have a resounding yes vote in this consultative ballot. By having a really strong yes vote in this consultative ballot gives us, as your negotiators, a lot of leverage with the company. So in many ways, the best way to avoid strike action is to make sure that you and that all of your colleagues vote in this consultative ballot and vote yes in this consultative ballot. That's what we need. We need BT to take you seriously. We need BT to sit background the negotiating table with us. And we need BT to re-establish its moral compass, the way that it operates, the way that we've operated previously and been able to deal with surpluses that haven't involved compulsory redundancies. That's what we need BT to take a step back from. So voting yes in this consultative ballot is the very best way to avoid strike action. My apologies, I've got a phone going in the background.
Yeah, look, can I just add to that, Tracy, as well? Because, look, I understand that people are worried about the cost and what have you. We have, in other parts of our union, had to unfortunately go down the route of industrial action. And be very clear, when we do that strategy, we'll be very cognizant of the impact it has on our members. And there are ways and means of doing that to lessen that impact. So please be aware that, if we did reach that point, all of those things will be thought of, because I know it is a concern for members. But look, Tracy's right. This consultative ballot, if we get a massive return, we're very confident that if you speak with numbers, that we can get them back around the table and try and resolve these issues.
Thanks for that. Thank you. I've just realised that was probably my mother phoning, so I've just ignored my mother, but never mind. Carol Husk has asked, why have we not had more press coverage? Does anybody want to take that?
Look, I mean, we can only speculate. We certainly, the comms department in the union has been working very hard to get press coverage. You have to remember, to get ourselves in the news, that we have to have a story that the right-wing press is going to listen to be honest, and that's part of the problem. They're probably more interested about the share price and the potential, the rumours of the Openreach sell-off than they would be, a right-wing press would be, about our story. But they'll certainly be aware of what's going on with the dispute. If the dispute becomes a strike, they'll be very, very aware, and it'll be in the news. So we are working very hard. I know the comms department are working incredibly hard to get traction in the media. And a few weeks ago, we got quite a number of articles, both in the national press and in the local press, when we launched the launch. But it's very difficult. It's a news world that is very fast, and what happens today is forgotten tomorrow. So I have no doubts that we will continue to try and make headway in the media. But we face a battle because you have to look that the press is a right-wing press predominantly, and it makes it hard to get items of interest into those newspapers.
I think, you know, just to reiterate that very much, you know, the mainstream press isn't really interested in broadcasting what trade unions are doing, and we're competing against, you know, headlines on COVID and headlines on what the American president is or isn't doing. So, you know, there's other news out there at the moment that the press is really focusing on.
And sorry, and Tracy, just to be honest, nowadays the media is not just newspapers, and it's not just that anymore. There are many other different outlets and many other different places that you can get your news from, and members often do that. Fewer and fewer members are buying newspapers. They're not as relevant as they used to be in the past.
What I have seen, though, is a lot of local press interest, particularly what's happening in buildings in the particular area. So stories certainly have been picked up there. I've got another question, which I'm going to put to you, Steve, which is, are EE part of the ballot?
Yes, EE are part of the ballot. It's crucial to them as well, because our members in EE for many years had things imposed on them, and when they got recognition, they now had a voice. And I think what BT are doing to what the new management are doing within BT is removing that voice and trying to push them down to where EE were. So yeah, they are involved in the ballot because it's crucial to them. They expected to come into this company and to be harmonised to better terms and conditions. And clearly BT are attacking those terms and conditions that they expected to move to. So yeah, they're massively involved in it. And we have an event, I'll plug it, chance to plug it. We've got an event tomorrow night specifically for our EE members, where we're going to be discussing pay bonus and the consultative ballot.
Thanks for that. I'm just having a quick look at the comments, and I just want to say a really big thank you to everybody on the call, and a big thank you to our postal colleagues. You know, it's really great to see your solidarity in the comments. So thank you so much. I'm just scrolling through the last couple of questions.
I've spotted a question, Tracy, if you want me to answer it.
Yeah.
I've seen a question from Sarah where she's saying, would people in any new grid grade have their terms and conditions changed to the same as a TM1? Look, to be very clear, that's a really good question. It's an excellent question, actually, because people have been saying to me, well, it doesn't impact me, it only impacts new recruits. Let me be very clear. In EE, in T-Mobile, when EE took over, they were paid bank holidays. They were paid a bank holiday payment, and they stripped it away from them. So what we're saying is, yes, it currently only impacts the new people who are coming in. But if we let them get away with it and we don't deliver a strong ballot, you will be next. There's history there. They've done it before. So all the terms and conditions we've got, things like pay and pension protection, things like the effective deployment of displaced individuals and travel time, all of those things will be open season for the company. So it's not necessarily now, Sarah, but yes, I think you're right. You make a very good point that in the future, definitely, if we don't win this ballot.
Okay, thank you. Dave, one for you, and that's it's about pay and pension protection and whether pay and pension protection is safe.
Well, currently, no, I don't believe it is safe. It's certainly, as Tracy will know, on the committee we work on, pay and pension protection is effectively gone out the window in a redundancy situation. Now, I think we're hoping to retrieve that, but I don't think we can retrieve that in the current situation. And the problem is, if we don't retrieve it, if we don't save pay and pension protection, certainly in a redundancy situation where members are redeployed, if we don't save it, then you have to ask what's next. If BT sees us as weak, then it will come for those what they would consider to be expensive terms and conditions that we've got. They'll come for them because it will be a way of forcing members onto lower paid contracts. And the company has been attacking grades over the last few years. It's been attempting to downgrade jobs in many areas because the company wrongly thinks that you're overpaid. Well, you're not, because we've worked hard for years and years to protect and maintain your levels of pay and get you paid what you're worth. But the company's been changing its approach, so the removal of pay and pension protection is currently a serious possibility that we're considering, that we're having to face. So the only way we can really deal with that is to get the company to negotiate with us. And currently, it's not a negotiation, and that's honestly why we have to have the ballot, because we need the members to demonstrate that there are members out there won't accept this, because ultimately it's going to affect us all clearly.
Thanks, Dave. And I think the point that you made in your opening speech is really important to reiterate as well. You know, we've gone 36 years in this company dealing with surpluses, of successfully redeploying employees, successfully retraining employees, successfully protecting their pay and pension if they've had to move to a lower paid or lower graded job. All of that has been done successfully for 36 years. And this company now has changed the way that it treats you, their employees. It's turned around and said, we're making you compulsory redundant. And at the point that we're making you compulsory redundant, we're removing pay and pension protection. Absolutely outrageous. It's if we don't stop them now, imagine how they're going to treat you in 5 years' time. Imagine how they're going to treat you in 12 months' time. You know, this is not a company that is going to have the respect for their employees that they've had in the past. We really do need to say, no, enough is enough, and to stop them. I'm going to just have one final look at the questions, but I think we've more or less answered the ones. Steve, can you just give another shout out for the EE call tomorrow? Just give the details so that people are aware of when they are.
Yes, we're having another webinar tomorrow night at 6:30 to 7:30. We'll be discussing an update on the bonus, because we've had huge issues within EU on bonus. We're going to be discussing pay, but also, for obvious reasons, we're going to be discussing the consultative ballot and the campaign with them as well.
Thanks, Steve. Are there any questions, guys, that you think I've missed that you want me to pick up? I can't see any. No. Right, well, I'm going to hand over for closing comments. That'd be great. So I'll go. Who do you want me to go to first?
Got Dave.
Stephen's going to finish, so shall I go first?
Okay, that makes sense. Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, right, okay. So, I mean, I'm not going to repeat a lot of what's been said. I think it's critical now that we get the vote out. That's what the reps and the activists have been working on really hard. And anybody that's come on this call tonight should be in no doubt that they should go out there and speak to members, go into the WhatsApp groups at work and tell members that you've been on and that they should be voting. When you vote, change your profile pictures to say, I voted yes. And if you haven't got one, I'm sure your branch can send you one, so that everybody knows that members are proud to be voting and proud to be voting yes. And to show to other members that there is no fear, that you will be counted. And I think that's key, because we all need to be out there on Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp and wherever you can, to be absolutely clear that we should all be voting. I voted. I know everybody. I'm pretty sure that everybody else on this call has voted. But it's the members who aren't on this call tonight who we have to go out and talk to. And we can do it in many ways. We have to be out there talking to members, getting them to find their vote, because we speak to members all the time and they say, I haven't had my email. And when we finally get through to them, they have had their email, they've just missed it. Many thousands of members have got their ballot papers, and we want them all to be voting. And once we get that voting, once we get a massive turnout and we get a massive yes vote, we'll say to the company, right, what now? That's the point. Do you want to take us on, or do you want to talk to us? So I think it's simple. That's where we should be. Get the vote out would be my message. And when you finish on this call tonight, I would say you don't start tonight. It's a bit late now, but tomorrow, get out there and get that vote in.
Thanks, Dave. Before I hand over to Steve to finish, I just want to make a comment myself, and that is that, look, this consultative ballot is our chance to start fighting back. We can all come together collectively, and we can all shout, enough is enough. You don't have to be strong on your own. We can all be strong together. And if you do one thing tomorrow for yourself, speak to a few of your colleagues, ask them if they've voted. If they haven't, tell them how important it is, not just to them, but to you as well, that they vote in this campaign. I think that together we can stop BT and we can turn them away from their race to the bottom. This ballot is your voice. I want you to use it. I want you to be loud. I want you to be proud. And I want you to vote. Okay, Steve, over to you to close us down tonight.
Look, thanks everybody for coming on. I really appreciate how busy you are and taking the time out on a night after a long day. We massively appreciate it. And I think Dave and Tracy have summed up what we need you to do. But I'll finish where I started. Look, the CWU is our voice. We've always negotiated change. And we as members have always had a choice based on those negotiations. And I've worked, and Dave's worked, and Tracy's worked, and the national team have worked in a lot of non-recognised areas, in particular Orange T-Mobile, who Ian took over. And for many years, we saw year after year change just imposed on them. They didn't have a voice, they didn't have a say, it was just imposed. And if we don't deliver this ballot, you need to tell everyone that will be the world that we will move to. That will be the world where everything is imposed. So when you're talking about pay and pension protection, is this safe, is that safe? If we don't deliver on this ballot, that will be the world we move to. It'll be a world where BT just impose change and don't let you speak. Thank you so much for coming on. We really, really appreciate it. We've told you a big ask of you. We really appreciate it if you do it. For those who didn't get emails, they're being worked on, and there's plenty of reminders coming out. So thanks for your time. And please, please, please get everyone to vote yes.
Thanks. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Night, everybody.
Good night.